This time on 24 Hours In. Last time Paige and I caught up with you, we were exploring Joshua Tree National Park in Southern California. While we loved the desert, we had spent a long time there, so it was time for us to pack up camp and head north to the Pacific Northwest. We moved base camp to the Puget Sound in Washington State and set off to spend 24 hours inside of North Cascades National Park. North Cascades is unique in that it's one of the USA's least visited national parks, attracting just 30,000 visitors in 2022. Compare that to Yosemite's 3.3 million visitors or the Grand Canyon's 4.7 million, and you'll find that this is the place to be if you're looking for a more laid-back national park experience, tucked into the far reaches of the Pacific Northwest. The first stop on our list was a slow, meandering trail through the towering western red cedars, aptly named Trail of the Cedars. A short, half-mile stroll that winds through a thick forest dotted with mosses, fungi, and various informational signs that help tell their story. At the end of it all, you'll meet the New Halem Powerhouse, the oldest operating building in Skagit County. Paige and I love to start our national park visits this way, wandering through informative trails and park nature centers. Then, when we hit the longer hikes later in the day, we're armed with just enough knowledge to connect better to all the little things we see along the way. From Trail of the Cedars, we made our way directly to Thunder Knob Trail, a moderately graded 3.4-mile trail providing glimpses of the famous Diablo Lake behind its tall red cedar and western hemlock trees. The trail begins inside of Colonial Creek Campground, crossing a small footbridge over the creek itself before ascending beyond the thicker forest to a clearing filled with panoramic views of the lakes around you. We loved this trail for its dog friendliness, easy grade, and big payoff at the end. Rain has become a bit of a staple in our 24 Hour In series, but this time we had a plan. Instead of trudging through a muddy hike, we hopped on North Cascades Highway 20, headed east. Our destination was a small town about 50 miles outside of the park called Winthrop. Before we got there, though, we took a quick stop at the incredible Washington Pass observation site along the way. This time I found myself thanking the rain for giving us a taste of the iconic views that the Pacific Northwest is known for. By the time we arrived in Winthrop, the rain seemed to have subsided. We decided to take a walk down Main Street and grab some ice cream before it was time to head back to the park. We did end up getting a little bit of rain on the way back over here to the campground, but that's totally fine. But a little bit of a puddle situation, so I think we're gonna have to nix the fire for tonight. But luckily, where we planned on setting the tent up is still super dry, so we're good there. Now it's time to get dinner going, so let's go ahead, set up camp, and then get cooking. Given that this puddle is here, and the fire pit is super wet, and so is the table, basically everything's wet. So we were planning on cooking on the picnic table, but we can't do that. So I think what we're going to do instead is just do the old school thing and cook on the tailgate, which is fine. But I think we're gonna cook on the tailgate, and then I'm gonna try my very hardest to get a fire going. I don't know if it's gonna work. If it doesn't work, it's fine. We bought some wood at one of the little shops in town. So, you know, I should at least give it a go. But try and get a fire going. I'm gonna start dinner first though, because we are both hungry and it is getting late. We've actually changed up our whole kitchen situation. So for the longest time, and I think every single one of these videos that we've made, we were using a butane stove, a single burner butane stove. And I picked that because it was great heat output, and then it was really small, really compact. We live in a camper full time. Having small and compact stuff is just kind of like my default way to go. Unfortunately, the cons kind of started to outweigh the pros the more we've started tent camping, just because it's a single burner and it's butane. The butane part is like the number one thing that kind of drove me away from it. Is finding butane can sometimes be difficult, but propane is pretty much everywhere. We went with the 2-burner Eureka Ignite Plus, I think this is called. It's super nice. It actually fits 2 12-inch pans instead of 2 10-inch pans, which is pretty standard. So we used that for breakfast this morning. We really like it so far, but that's the first time we've used it. And then instead of using those little green canisters, the company that makes it calls it a growler, but really it's just a 5-pound little propane tank, and this is perfect. It just sets right in the back of the truck and connects up to the stove, so we don't have those little green canisters anymore. So that's perfect, and I can just refill this when I refill propane for the camper as well, which we use for heat and for cooking in the camper. So that's been really great too. Love that. Super lightweight, super cheap to fill up. It was like $6 to fill this thing up versus like sometimes I think I saw it in a store in town. One of those 1-pound tanks was $10. So this saves a lot of money in the long run and also is much better for the environment. We also switched over from the 65-liter Yeti to this 75-liter Dometic dual zone. This is our first full trip with it. We actually used it in Joshua Tree as well, but in Joshua Tree we didn't yet have the EcoFlow battery. So we just had a little, like, I think it was like 100 watt. Yeah, I think it was 100 watt, kind of basically like a laptop charger, and that didn't last a super long time, so we didn't get to really test it the way that we wanted to. But having it here has been great. Much more convenient, I think, and everything stays cool. You don't have to worry about ice. The downfall of it, and definitely the downfall of having it in the bed of the truck, is that when it rains, they're not exactly, you know, waterproof, but the EcoFlow usually lives in the cab of the truck, and I just ran, if you can see it, a 12-volt cable from the EcoFlow in the cab through the vents in the back of the cab and then into the EcoFlow, or I'm sorry, into the Dometic. So that was working really well. It's been super convenient, no drilling or anything like that to get power back here in the bed. And we can also use that power for other stuff too. So the dual zone's been really good. It holds a ton of stuff. You don't really realize how much space you're missing when you have all of that ice. But yeah, so that's the new kitchen setup. We're really excited to fully give it a go and see, you know, long term how things are. All right, while I was cooking, Paige managed to get a fire going. So I think for tonight, we're just going to sit by the fire, drink a beer, and do a little bit of relaxing before we hit the hay. We'll see you in the morning. After breaking camp, it was time for our final adventure in North Cascades. We were headed to Ross Lake Resort, a floating hotel of sorts, situated near the southwestern end of the lake. There are two main ways to get there. The first is a hike that takes you across the lake dam and right up to the resort. That route is about 3.5 miles. But we weren't here to hike, so instead of that, we opted for a shorter 1-mile hike, descending through the forest and out to a dock, where the resort will pick you up on a small ferry and shuttle you across the lake. Good, how are you?
Yes, sure.
Once there, it was time to grab our double kayak rental and start paddling. Snack. Get back on track. We have kayaked out a little bit. Honestly, I don't even remember what she called this part of Ross Lake, but I'll put it on screen right here so you guys know. But we've kayaked out through here. We only had a couple of hours to kayak before we had to head back home and pick up the puppies, but I think we are going to head back across Ross Lake. I guess it's a little bit of a more difficult kayak back because the wind pushes the current this way, and you can definitely tell it's starting to pick up just a little bit as the wind picks up. But honestly, it's kind of nice because it was kind of hot getting over here. We came just as the sun kind of started cresting over, and it's gotten a little toasty out here. So it's gonna be nice getting a little bit of wind, even if it is a little bit of a harder kayak back. Totally worth the trip over here though, to rent a kayak and get out on the water. Definitely recommend it. Even if you only have a couple of hours, it's a lot of fun just being out here and kind of being a little bit closer and a little bit more secluded. We've only seen a couple of other people out here while we've been kayaking, so it's been a lot of fun.
So do you guys remember like 5 seconds ago when I said, yeah, the wind's kind of nice, you know? It's giving us a nice breeze, you know? We're not roasting anymore. I take it back, I think. It's pretty choppy.
Being our first national park in Washington state, North Cascades really set itself apart. It's definitely off the beaten path, but so worth the journey. If you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to check out the rest of our 24 Hours In videos where we explore national parks as much as possible in just one night. We have videos on Mount Rainier and Olympic National Parks coming soon, so be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss those. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you down the trail.
The feelings and the seasons change, but I don't wanna give it